I think that we can acknowledge that nobody wants their street to be on a truck route. You know, absolutely nobody would step up and volunteer. My street's on the truck route, and am I thrilled? No, it's not. It's not wonderful. But we do have to acknowledge that if you want to direct traffic, then you have to designate a truck route. If we could get rid of the truck route, go back to letting the truckers go wherever they want to go in town. I mean, that's the alternate. And I would suggest that there will be people that are unhappy with that, and there are people that are unhappy with the truck route. And when you've got either way, you can't please everybody.
So with the NIMBY factor, what we call the NIMBY factor, not in my backyard, council, we will have to make a command decision. Not everybody will be happy. Is that what's facing your council, Mayor?
That's guaranteed, Ray. It's like discussing your favorite political party, your favorite hockey team. Not everybody's going to agree with you, but we're going to have to do it the best for the citizens of Yarmouth.
So give me a sense of what's happening now. You say you need a bit of a break, I guess. You have to sort of prorogue the issue from council right now. Is that the intent, and nothing will be done for several months, perhaps until the spring or summer? Is that what I'm hearing?
I'd just like to see it for a couple months just off the tables. We have some other things to do. We're going to have lots of discussion now in the next few months with infrastructure money coming down. That could alleviate some of the problems with Argyle Street and Stars Road and Pleasant Street. So just maybe take this off, concentrate on some other things, have a good look at it with the new people, and come back in a few months, like you said.
Will that process of review involve public input at all? Councillor Dares, how do you feel about that? I realize that there were opportunities before in the various reading stages of the former bylaw, but are you getting enough public input? Do you need more? Do they need to be a really central partner to develop this policy that would be accepted, do you think?
I don't think you can ever have too much public input. I mean, certainly the more people that come out, I think the more Made in Yarmouth approach or solution we get. But and any time we change a bylaw or repeal a bylaw, there's an opportunity for public input, and I hope that those people that are affected will come out and present. And ultimately, this is a case where not everybody's going to be happy in the end.
Mayor Mooney, is there any wisdom to perhaps in the interim bringing back the motion that was defeated in terms of the 7P to 7A restriction of trucking on Argyle Street? Is there any wisdom to do that as an interim measure before this is addressed more fully?
One of the councillors could do that, Ray, and if they want to put that on the agenda, we'll look at it again next meeting.
Now, within all of this discussion, we heard from Councillor Boudreau and perhaps some others about a longer-term vision with regards to designation of truck routes and traffic congestion in general, the expansion of Stars Road to 4 to 5 lanes. I want to get some impressions from each of you on that concept. Obviously, we're not talking months, we were talking perhaps years until that could be done. What would be the situation in the meantime to relieve the traffic congestion on Stars Road? Is that realistic? Can it physically be done, Mayor?
It can be done. Anything can be done, Ray. You know that. When you started in the business, remember you used to drive out Stars Road, you used to watch a guy skating at Jaffar's Pond and the big hill there. So anything can be done. It takes time and it takes money. For a longer term vision, that is something I see down the road quite a bit. That's probably past my term, and I think you'll be retired by the time we see that.
But it did come up as an alternative perhaps to the issues of residents' opposition from Herbert Street and Argyle Street, that Councillor Boudreau seemed to present the argument that this is the natural alternative to resolve all these other interlinking problems of the designated truck routes. Is it, do you think?
Well, it's going to help, right? There's no doubt it'll help, but there's other things we can do too. The Clement Street, go down, connect Parade Street and Stars Road through that Clement Street Avenue or Clements Avenue scenario. Do that one, that's another one. Then you open up some lands in between the two, get some tax base back on, get some buildings in there, but there's other things we can do besides that.
Councillor Adair, at the last meeting, you mentioned that it's not going to be easy to go to 45 lanes on Stars Road. What are you going to do with all the buildings? What are you going to do with all the businesses? Mayor Moody is right. You can basically do anything when it comes to development, but I'm thinking particularly on the lower end of Stars Road, there's going to be a lot of displacement to bring that vision to fruition, would it not be?
Well, I mean, my problem with the motion, Ray, was that it didn't have any parameters to it. I mean, it didn't, widen Stars Road, I mean, to 4 or 5 lanes. There's legal issues there, there's land acquisition, some of those residential properties would have to, there's no plan. There's no plan. There is a design, a conceptual design for the widening of Stars Road between the 2 highways, essentially. I mean, I think it might go a little past the 101, but that's it. And so how does that fix the truck problem in the town? It fixes the truck problem maybe between the 2 highways, but how does it fit? That part of it only fixes the truck problem between 2 highways. So when I asked the question about all the way to Main Street, he said preferably. Well, I mean, I'm sure there'd be a lot of public outcry about that, and I would suggest if that ever happens, that's decades away.
Let me turn to something a little more positive in terms of the conundrum that's out there with traffic congestion and all of that. Brooklyn Street, soon to be renamed Charles Crosby Avenue, and a nice gesture from the town of Yarmouth to its former mayor, I must say. How's that all worked out now?
I'm particularly proud of that. There was controversy. Council was split on it. It was a 4-3 vote, I think, to open Brooklyn Street. I think even those in opposition would tell you today, most of them would say it was the right thing to do. We've looped those water lines. Water quality has improved for those dead-end streets. And sure, there's been increased traffic on Elm and on Herbert Street from that, but it's connected the grocery stores, those 2 large commercial areas, and people don't have to go out on Stars Road to get from one to another. That's been a tremendous improvement for Stars Road. And I think the neighborhoods have been minimally impacted by that. And I think if you had to give that one an evaluation, we'd score pretty high on that one. I think that was one of the high points of the last council.
Mayor Moody, do you agree that that's the way to go? And is there a lesson in all of that in terms of how you might apply those principles to the situation now facing council?
Well, I agree with that. I echo everything Esther just said. I live down in that neck of the woods down off the Brunswick Street extension, and I use the back way to get to the shopping centers, and I think it's a great addition to the town. I think the way those streets were interconnected, and I know they went through some grief with the residents of all those streets, and Argyle Street I think is just a little different than that, Ray, a little different scenario.
When we talk about Brooklyn Street, the Charles Crosby Avenue street, is there a parallel to push south of Stars Road now, again to perhaps join Stars Road at somewhere around that juncture? There is a plan that I did see. Is that moving forward in terms of trying to redirect more traffic off Stars Road to the south of town?
The Brooklyn Street going south off of Stars Road, there is a plan to take that south, and our new council hasn't discussed it yet, but it's my hope that that's not, as a councillor, it's my hope that that's not far away, but it's not. We haven't talked about it, so it's clearly not a priority for this year, but it will bring with it other benefits and improvements to